Welcome back to my channel, Keeping Up with Studies. In today's video, we will be talking about the 6 main organs of UN. Before getting into the video, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. I have already talked about the United Nations and its objectives in my previous video. Make sure you watch it before this video. Link is in the description box below. Okay, so let's get into the video. The main organs of the United Nations are the UN General Assembly, Security Council, International Court of Justice, Economic and Social Council, the Secretariat, and the Trusteeship Council. However, the Trusteeship Council was suspended on 1st November 1994. Now, the first and the most important of all the organs of the UN is the General Assembly. It is one of the principal organs of UN, serving as the main deliberative and policy-making body. The members are seated alphabetically in the General Assembly according to the English translation of the country's name. Now, the General Assembly is like a world parliament, with each member state like an MP. Like in a parliament, how MPs discuss issues and concerns, similarly, in United Nations General Assembly, countries, through their delegates, state their concerns and deliberate on them. Countries can discuss and resolve their conflicts and problems peacefully. Basically, talk it out. In the General Assembly, each member has one vote each. And apart from giving a platform to discuss the problems, the General Assembly is also responsible for the UN budget, appointing members to the UN Security Council, appointing the Secretary General of the UN, receiving reports from other parts of UN, and making recommendations through resolutions. Moving ahead, next is the Security Council. The main responsibility it has is of maintaining international peace and security. It has 15 members, 5 permanent and 10 non-permanent members who are elected for a term of 2 years. The 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council have many privileges, and the most important being their permanency and veto power in the Security Council. Now, the veto power is considered very significant because in the Security Council, each member has one vote. However, the permanent members can vote in a negative manner, so that even if all the permanent and non-permanent members vote for a particular decision, any permanent member's negative vote can stall the decision. This negative vote is the veto power. While there has been a move to abolish or modify the veto system, there is also a realization that the permanent members are unlikely to agree to such a decision. There is a view that if the veto power is taken away from these permanent members, then they would lose interest in the world body. They would do whatever they want to do outside it, and without their support, an international organization like the UN would be ineffective. Recently, 4 out of 5 permanent members of the Security Council had agreed upon India's permanent candidature. However, we cannot make any conclusions about it at this point of time. We would have to see if India could take the seat in the Security Council as a permanent member in the future. Now, moving ahead with the functions of Security Council, it includes taking decisions on UN peacekeeping missions, example like the first Gulf War, where a massive coalition force was sent in by the United Nations to liberate Kuwait from Iraq, to recommend admissions of new member, to recommend to the General Assembly the appointment of Secretary General, and together with the Assembly to elect the judges of International Court of Justice. To a large extent, the decisions of UN Security Council are legally binding to the countries. However, it is not the same with the General Assembly. Though the General Assembly can pass decisions, they are not binding to the member states. However, we have to look at both the sides of the coin. And when we look at the Security Council, over the years there have been demands for restructuring it. The reasons being lack of equal representation, the decisions made by the Security Council represent Western values and interests, and it is felt that the Security Council no longer represents the contemporary political realities. And the biggest discussions has been on the membership of Security Council. There has been a demand to increase the permanent and non-permanent members so that the Security Council has equal representation. However, here also the question is, what are or should be the criteria for the countries to qualify as a permanent member of the Security Council? How big should a country's economic or military power should be? Or what level of budget contributions would enable a state to buy its way to the council? And the debates about these things are still very much on. Another contentious topic is the veto power of permanent members. While there have been demands for abolishing veto, there is also a realization that the permanent members would not agree to it. And thus, that is the end of discussion. Moving on, next we have the International Court of Justice. It is also known as the World Court, and it settles disputes between states in accordance with international law and gives advisory opinions on international legal issues. It is a panel of 15 judges elected by the General Assembly and the Security Council for a term of 9 years. Its official working languages are English and French. The court decides disputes between countries based on the voluntary participation of the states concerned. And if a state agrees to participate in a proceeding, it is obligated to comply with the court's decision. Up next is the UN Secretariat. This is the executive arm of UN. It sets the agenda to be discussed by the deliberative and decision-making bodies of the UN like the General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, and the implementation of the decisions made by these bodies. It prepares information on various issues so that the government delegates can study the facts and make recommendations, helps carry out the decisions made by different organs of the UN, organize international conferences, translate the speeches and distribute documents into the UN official languages to keep the public informed about the work of the United Nations. Secretary General is the head of UN Secretariat. Moving ahead, up next, we have the United Nations Economic and Social Council. This is the organ of UN which is responsible for the social and economic well-being of states and for coordinating with specialized agencies like International Monetary Fund, UNESCO, World Bank, World Trade Organization, UNICEF, etc. The Economic and Social Council conducts studies, formulates resolutions, recommendations, and conventions for consideration by the General Assembly, and coordinates the activities of various UN organizations. Most of ECOSOC's work is performed in functional commissions in topics such as human rights, narcotics, population, social development, statistics, the status of women, science and technology, etc. The Council also oversees Regional Commission for Europe, Asia and the Pacific, Western Asia, Latin America, and Africa. The UN Charter allows ECOSOC to grant consultative status to non-governmental organizations. The President of the Council is elected for a 1-year term and is chosen from the small or medium-sized states to give equal representation to all the members. Now the last but not the least, the Trusteeship Council. Though it is not functional at this point of time, but it was established to supervise the administration of trust territories as they transitioned from colonies to sovereign nations. When the United Nations was founded, there were parts of the world without a functioning government. Some of these territories had been occupied under the World War I, whereas others were detached from the nations defeated at the end of World War II. These territories were placed under the trusteeship of the United Nations. The objective of the Trusteeship Council was to administer and support the transition to independence and self-governance of the colonies held by the Axis powers from World War II, as well as the territories mandated by the League of Nations. From the beginning, there were 11 trust territories, most of them in Africa and the Pacific. Today, they have all attained self-governance, the last one being Palau in 1994. Palau became the 185th member of the United Nations, and after that, the Council suspended its activities. Okay, so that's all for this video. I hope that after watching this, you must have got a little bit idea of what the United Nations is and what are the main functions of its organs. And if you liked it, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, Keeping Up with Studies. Thank you for watching.